What's up, guys? I'm down here in beautiful sunny San Diego. It's not so sunny today, but it's been a nice vacation just out here with my family, and I've got a really good customer named Kenny that I thought I'd come stop by and visit. Okay, so Kenny has come up with some questions here for me.
Yeah.
These are beginner FAQs. He's got a whole list of them, and we're just going to go down it. He's going to ask questions, and I'm going to try my best to answer them well.
All right. So I remember when I was just getting into some nickel plating, and I only had one nickel anode, and it was this special little boy right here. I got to know, why do we put the bag on the nickel anode for the nickel solution, but remove the bag for the Woods nickel strike?
So the reason for the bag nickel anode when you're nickel plating is you get the anode actually is what's called a sacrificial anode, meaning it gets eaten to replenish the nickel in the solution. Mm-hmm. That same thing happens with the Woods nickel strike, but it's much less important because when you're in the nickel strike, you're literally striking it for 10-15 seconds. You're not really trying to put a plate on. When you do a bright nickel, a lot of people will leave it in the bright nickel for even hours, if you're depending on how long you're plating it, and those little particles will float around in there and they'll actually deposit onto your part, and you'll get little things on your part. So that's what the bag's for. But if you try and use it in the Woods nickel strike, the Woods nickel strike will actually just eat the bag.
Okay, that makes a lot of good sense. Besides that, starting volt and ending volt. So when I first got the universal chrome plater, in the booklet, it wasn't very clear that I'd have to rise up the voltage to 7 volts. Mm-hmm. So, I keep it at 7 volts. I throw the item in there. It'll drop about a whole volt at a time. I'm plating with it, and half my calls would be, what's going on here. If we were to start off with a higher voltage, let's say at 8 volts, then put the item in, and then it drops to 7, would there be any problem with the surface or the item in question?
No, that's actually what I recommend, but it does take a little bit of practice to get used to how much to turn it above. Usually solutions drop about 1 volt. What I like to do, or tell beginners to do, is set it to the voltage that's indicated. So if it's 7 volts, you set it to around 7. Mm-hmm. It'll drop down to 6 and then turn it up to the desired voltage. Okay. It's better that way because then you don't risk burning it if you accidentally try and guess ahead of time. So.
Okay, that makes really good sense. Okay, so of your solutions, which ones have cyanide in it? Because waste management flips out if you throw that down your drain. Don't ever do that.
Yeah, no, you definitely don't want to put them down the drain. Cyanide, so that's kind of a bit of a complicated answer, because like our bright gold solution has a complex cyanide, so it's bound up with potassium and the gold. It's a potassium gold cyanide, and when it's bound up like that, it's actually a lot safer than a free cyanide. A free cyanide solution has the cyanide freely floating around in it and is actually quite toxic relative to what we sell. Our 24K bright gold has the complex cyanide. Our rose gold is actually a free cyanide solution, but it's got quite low amounts of cyanide in it to where it's you still got to practice basic chemical safety, but it's not much worse than a lot of nasty chemicals you'd have under your kitchen sink. That's it as far as the ones that contain cyanide.
Now, when plating with when I have like a stainless steel item and I put it through the electric cleaner, then the Woods nickel, and then normally the gold, around the time that the Woods nickel strike would come off, there's this vapor that's in the air.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is correlated to it, but my face gets kind of red, and maybe I'm too close to it. Maybe it needs to be a mask, or maybe not. But is there anything that would come off in that vapor that might kind of cause like an eczema kind of like reaction?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, it doesn't mean it's not possible. I haven't heard that particular one. It does, with the Woods nickel strike, it puts off, because it does have hydrochloric acid, it does put off a chlorine gas, mm-hmm. which The most common.
I'm gonna hit with some World War II right in my face.
No, it's not that bad. The worst side effect is that
man.
you cough. You know, it's just a little bit of a cough or something.
Okay.
But honestly, it's not like it's poisoning you or anything like that.
Okay.
If you have a huge enough release of chlorine gas, it could knock you out or something, but that would never be possible with this particular chemical. You just get that light smell of chlorine that not everybody loves to smell.
Yeah, definitely at the pool.
Yeah.
All right. So stainless steel colors. So to tell the difference between a chrome item that is highly buffed, or a stainless steel item that is highly buffed compared to a chrome item when you're using it with the chrome stripper. I remember you once telling me there's a blue or purple color if something's not quite right. Can you explain?
Oh, yeah. So if you can't tell if an item is stainless steel or chrome, because they are virtually indistinguishable, you try and strip it. You act like it's a chrome item, see what happens. If it's chrome, the solution will turn a bright yellow color, and you'll see the chrome stripping. The metal turns like that tan nickel color.
It's a beautiful color.
Yeah. Then if it's stainless steel, the solution will get this light blue tint to it. It's not nearly as dramatic as the yellow, but it is there. The biggest indicator is that you won't see the chrome stripping.
Okay.
Common question. People always wonder.
Okay. I got to call up a guy from like Anaheim. He wanted me to do 4 chrome bumpers, and like as I'm doing the chrome plating or the chrome stripping, I'm not hearing like that high sizzle, the high yellow, and I was like, what's going on here? So that definitely answers that. But
yeah.
Electrocleaner worked out and surface activator. Oh, I remember in the group, Facebook group, you made a post saying, do you know of any tips? Someone recently said that they had a reaction between the surface activator and the chrome stripper. Do you happen to remember what that was?
I didn't see that one yet.
Okay. They said like using the surface activator for like too long or too little would like burn the...
Oh yeah, if you activate too long, you'll certainly burn the nickel. And it leaves people say it looks like a water spot, but really it's like an acid burn that you have to polish it. It's just like a darker color.
Okay.
And you have to polish it out to get back down to bare nickel before you move on, or else it'll still be in the gold.
That might have been one of my mistakes. Okay, that sounds very familiar. On the other ones, waste management. So when we have all these extra chemicals that are no longer in use, and as you can see, I have my extra chemicals. Kind of been waiting for this question for a while, but do you have any recommendations on which companies can pick these up and how much that kind of pricing goes for?
It really depends on your area. Unfortunately, I don't have like a specific company, but yeah, so what I recommend doing is, here you don't have a ton of space, but if you want to have as big of storage containers as you can, one for your acids, one for your bases, and you just collect them. I mean, we have 50-gallon drums that we collect them in. Every once a year or two, you just call a waste management company, tell them you have some hazardous waste. Even though it's not very hazardous, it still is. It's something you can't just pour down the drain. Yeah. And they'll just come pick it up. It's like $200 typically. So, I mean, if you collect these huge drums, it's not that expensive.
Okay. Regarding waste management and how many that you have, which ones, if we were to go that same route, some acids are together, bases are together, which one would each item appear in? So electric cleaner or surface activator, woods, where would they be?
Well, electric cleaner is a base. Woods is an acid because it has the hydrochloric. Activator is an acid. And really the best way, if you don't know an answer to something like that, is to look at the safety data sheets. Okay. You can get those on our website or request them via email.
I feel Terry in the background like, yes, plug in that safety info. Do it. Besides that, repairs. So regarding, I know you guys probably get maybe 4 or 5 of these coming in maybe once every 2 months saying, hey, my thing isn't working. What is the most common problem and how can we avoid it?
Very, very rarely do these things break down, and when they do, it's almost always corrosion, like in this area, or back here. Okay. And that the way to avoid that is to not get chemicals all over it. I mean, or inside. You know, and we're trying to come up with a way to make the whole thing waterproof, but it's pretty tricky. So if under normal use, it doesn't really happen, but there are some people who are really sloppy and get chemicals all over
I
it.
see your hand movement. You know, you're really pointing at mine.
Yours doesn't look bad at all. I mean, for how long you've had yours, it looks really good, actually.
3 years. Or
yeah, 3 years, and it still looks that good.
Okay. Well,
that's good.
I should have cleaned this a little bit more. I feel a little naked now.
Oh, you're fine.
All right. Okay, Tri-Val versus Woods Nickel Strike. From what I've heard, you know, they're practically the same thing, but if you're going to use Tri-Val, it's mostly for like jewelry and stuff that you need gold to last on for a very long time. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So Tri-Val is a gold strike. Woods is a nickel strike. A lot of people are allergic to nickel. And so, you know, people say, oh, even gold-plated jewelry gives me an allergic reaction, and so I have to buy pure gold or something. And the reason is because the companies are using a nickel strike. So even though it's gold-plated on a stainless steel, they're not allergic to the stainless steel or the gold. They're allergic to the nickel strike that they're putting underneath the gold. So if it's jewelry, if it's a medical equipment, you should be using a gold strike over a wood strike.
Okay.
But the Woods Nickel Strike works perfectly fine for any application where you have a steel or stainless steel that isn't, allergy isn't a concern, or if nickel isn't contradicted.
Okay. All right. So gun parts, you know, you'd use Wood Nickel Strike.
Almost always.
Jewelry, almost always.
Unless it were maybe a trigger or something, but most people.
That's a very interesting distinction.
Yeah, I mean, most people don't just use a wood strike for gold stuff. I mean, for gun stuff.
Okay. Okay, storage of liquids. So, I noticed that one of my electro cleaners was just going downhill after a while. You know, you put items in it, and you know that there's supposed to be a connection there, and I'm not getting anything. Regarding storage of your chemicals, what are the do's and don'ts? And if I just put my lid on through here, compared to, okay, like if I put my lid on here, obviously light's going to be touching the solution. If I were to put all this back into the bottle, would light at all affect the breakdown of the chemical, and how about temperature?
No, they don't. They aren't affected much by temperature or light. The only one that I'm aware of that's affected by light is the silver. There's a certain kind of silver that it starts to change color. Our non-cyanide silver, which I believe is that's what you have there. Yeah,
plug that in.
Yeah, so that's a non-cyanide. That one isn't affected by light like that, but we have a heavy silver that it'll turn black.
Okay.
If you leave it in the light, like for a day.
There's our solution for the black gold.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we did storage of liquids, light, temperature. Rusting with steel. So I noticed that with several of the items that I'm gold plating, specifically barber blades, you know, I'd hit it through the Woods Nickel Strike, and then I'd gold plate it, and then I'd have to dry it very, very, very quickly. If not, I'll get like orange rust deposits starting to form as if they were like algae. So how thick would I have to be to plate the stainless steel items for there to be enough of a barrier so that the golds, or the nickel, or actually it wouldn't be nickel if I'm going straight from Woods Nickel, or straight from steel to gold, but how thick of a gold layer would it have to be so that it wouldn't rust?
Gold, you'd want to put it on, if you just went straight gold onto steel, you'd have to put it on pretty thick, probably a couple microns.
Couple of microns.
Yeah, okay. But if usually you should nickel plate the steel, and you should leave it in there for a good couple minutes to get a good diffusion barrier. If it was stainless steel, then that's not as much of an issue at all. Okay,
so then regarding the a couple minutes as a diffusion barrier on the bath plater,
I mean, technically you could probably just leave it in there for half a minute or something and it'd be fine, but I am of the opinion you should always play better safe than sorry and go a little bit longer.
Okay. With nickel plating for, okay, so in the book it says nickel is to be 115, 125, voltage 2 to 4. So, okay, we're doing 30 microinches per minute. Okay, so they're talking about 60 microinches for 2 minutes. So, okay, so even
that's 1.5 microns, yeah.
Yeah, so then, okay, if the standard diffusion barrier that works is what, like 10 microinches?
Probably.
Okay, then we don't even need to do like 2 minutes. We do like 20, 25 seconds. And that'll be
Right.
good.
But you're better to play it safe, honestly. Just go a little thicker. And it gets brighter the longer you leave it in the nickel.
Okay.
So there's that added benefit.
When we measure out, so like with the bright nickel solution, how many grams of nickel are actually in it?
Oh, there's like ounces of nickel in there.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a ton. There's a lot of nickel in there. You don't even have to worry about that.
I was worried it was like gold, so
No.
I mean, like 2.5. I was trying to measure that out, but if there's ounces,
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of nickel in there. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but it's a lot. And it eats the anode. It's a sacrificial anode, so it replenishes it. Your nickel anode will eventually get eaten away, and then you just buy a new one. So you don't have to worry about running out of nickel.
Okay, well that's. Thank you. I was getting kind of scared of that. So dead zones on the anodes. So I remember online there were.
All on the bus, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So normally I would sand these down. You know, get a little piece of sandpaper, just rub it off.
Right.
Is there any way to get around that?
No, I mean these are platinum titanium, and that's just as good as it gets. They don't corrode. The chemical just kind of builds up on it. So,
is there any way, like, would a rust remover kind of remove that?
It's not rust. It just build up of crud from the chemicals. Okay. So sanding it, cleaning it with soap and water, anything like that's just the best way to get rid of it.
Okay. All right. Besides that, silver solution. How much? Okay, online I did not see whether you guys uploaded the silver bath solution. Is it already on there?
Mm-hmm.
If so,
yeah.
How much is it?
I don't know off the top of my head what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it is on there now though.
Buff, no buff, dead zones, glove mask, glasses. Okay, obviously did that. Stainless steel, purple, blah blah. Okay, I think that's actually enough for the beginner FAQs.
All right. Well, thanks, Kenny. Those are good questions, and we'll do a little bit of plating before we wrap it up.
Okay.